Hi, I'm Anna.
And I'm Ben.
We are AutoSave. Welcome to our channel.
Today we're watching Oshi No Ko, Season 1, Episode 3. Since last episode, Anna's listened to the opening song about, I don't know, how many times?
So many times.
You just, you're crazy like
on
that.
Repeat.
You listen to it on repeat.
Back to back.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with it.
I've listened to it, 3 times. I don't want to get, tired of it or anything.
You can't get tired of it.
But I love
possible.
it. It's great. And so is the show. I'm excited to see where we go from here. I am most excited, I think, to learn a little bit more about Kana's character, because that's where we ended last episode, right? Her interaction with Aqua and trying to see what her emotions are in the future.
I am also really excited about getting more of her. We were trying to figure out last episode in discussion if we thought that she was going to be completely new and changed from her childhood attitude, or if this is a face that she's putting on. She definitely probably has a rivalry still that is pushing her with Aqua. Since last episode, though, I have been thinking a lot, and I was writing in my phone notes and stuff, and I started to realize that trying to figure out kind of Aqua's state of mind and what is easy for me to grasp in terms of trying to understand it to continue on in the story. And it reminds me a lot of survivor's guilt. We have him as a doctor. Once one of his patients dies at a very young age, and then he superimposes that patient onto that patient's idol and starts to follow that idol and support that idol as if it was this person, this child that he was taking care of as a doctor. And then he gets this, when he dies, he doesn't even really focus on the fact that he died. And then he just goes and why? Because I was still alive. And he was now in this place to be raised by her. And the person that he was trying to protect was still alive. And then now that person's dead too, and he's just living for this other person.
Yeah.
Still, he's just wanting to protect that memory of that person and avenge that person.
Who's right next to him.
And who's actually right next to him. And it's really interesting. He's has he not lived for himself since she died, at 12 years old?
I don't know what it would look like now, but I am interested to see if that doesn't seem like something that's ever going to happen shortly, right? If in regards to Aqua and what mental he is in, what's it going to take for him to ever try to live for himself or get out of that? It would have to come at the confrontation of the idea of what he's doing or the confrontation of the person he's looking for itself.
Right. I mean, by what the director was saying to him last episode, it definitely seems like it is a theme and an idea that is put into place, that this is a possible kind of journey that we're going to be witness to, of him deciding to live for himself, finding out that revenge wasn't necessarily what would make him feel the best, especially if it means that he's neglecting being super close to his sister, who's actually the person that he probably wants to be closest to.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that might be what we are going to be seeing, is this person maybe deciding to live for themselves or do what they want to do. And maybe along the way, he decides to love his life and he ends up really enjoying it, enjoys being maybe an actor one day.
Maybe. Every person has the right to dream. That's what the director taught me last episode, and I hope he continues to teach me profound sayings and,
very happy
lessons for me to live by.
Very happy for his continuing presence in this. The other thing I wanted to say to you is Ruby has never experienced high school before, so this is going to be big territory. I am sure any knowledge she might have of high school is probably from TV dramas.
Yeah, from being Serena.
And so I am very excited to see her first shot at high school.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Maybe Aqua will get a bit protective, in a crush type of, I don't know, atmosphere. I could see that being cute. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Sweet.
Okay, give me that opening song. I need it.
Oh, subtitles!
This song really is I in a song.
You never show up. All of your captives Right where we...
A
Oh,
recap
recap!
of last episode.
うちの兄シスコンなの今から好きじゃないのねでも受かった聞こえてんぞああないな仲良くしましょうルル先輩ビビるぞマジでちょっと
Kana is so cute.
ねえってどこ行くの
Kana's coming with.
誰のことねえってば
Aww.
どこ中いつまでついてくるんだよ私の疑問に全部答えるまでいやもうやってないちょっと話しようよこれからカラオケとか行かない
Yes!
行かねえよ
No!
私の家とか距離の詰め方これでも芸能人なんだからこの時間まだ空いてないしだったら
Come to the director's place. Yes. I love her so much. God, I'm so excited.
ねえアクは得のとこ出入りしてるの人は演技教わってるんじゃないの一通りは仕込まれたけどでも嬉しいこの業界にいたんだね
There was a pause there.
The industry.
でもショックだな監督親元的成長してて
It makes sense!
今度ね私一人で寮暮らしだから
Huh.
ご飯もいつもウーバー大丈夫席で飛行道あるからクソ憎たらしいなまだ役者決まってない役あるんだ
We need the romance.
偉い人に掛け合ってみようかやらん
Do it.
でっていう少女漫画が原作のドラマ演出かじってる人間で知らねえやつもぐりだろ興味あるだから俺はもう演技はやらない
He's interested. He so is.
案外スルッと決まっちゃうかもよ可愛がられてるから私冠城正也そうだけど
God.
愛の残した携帯電話は仕事用とプライベート用の2台には具しか残ってなかった抜けているようで想像以上に用心秘密を守ろうとしていたのが分かった他の手間に比べたら比較にならなかったと30秒間操作できなくなりパスワードかもわからない
Damn.
試すのに半日かかった通り試すのに1ヶ月毎日45,510通り目このパスワードにたどり着くまで4年の月日
4 years.
その携帯には十数名のその中の一人が冠城正也ねえやろうよ可愛いんだよやるプロデューサーに連絡してくれ嘘手の男も女の子みたいな顔しててさ
She thinks he's jealous.
やってやろうじゃねえか
God.
Bum bum. Her heart.
アクアの演技楽しみアクアドラマ出るのなんで言うんだよ所属タレントの広報活動は事務所私は将来アイドルでアクアは将来役者さあの言葉忘れてなかったんだね
This probably makes Ruby really happy.
そんなんじゃないと生前交流のあったプロデューサーと接触し叶えるためとか役者への憧れとか
Lofty ambitions.
なんて作品少女漫画原作ねあ知ってる今日アマテレビ局制作のドラマでメインの役者も
1 star?
規模としてはその出番は最終話に出てくる
I can see Aqua being a good villain.
似てるじゃんまあいい顔してうるせえな人間は嫌い自分のことしか考えてないからあロリ先輩そんな顔してて楽しいななんだ笑えば
Oh, I don't like him.
何よからかわな
Yo, I swear, if Aqua comes in and like recasts him.
Oh, he's not very good either.
なんだてめえ喧嘩はやめて
I feel like I've done that before.
でこんな作品だったっけ4巻分をハンクールで収めるとなると
Facts.
That is true.
経験の子が多いみたいねなんていうかひどいねもっと演技上手くなかった
We should get those twin sweaters to further confuse people who think we're siblings. Karaoke.
They went to karaoke.
じゃあどうして今回あんななんだよ
Ooh.
モデルをとにかくいっぱい出してイケメン好きな女性層演技が売りの私をヒロインに起用してるってわけあお前の演技ぬるくね
She said the set was problematic. That's why she needs Aqua to be in it.
Aww.
個人個人は精一杯やっててせめて見れる作品にする下手くそな演技もする自分の役者としての評価を役者に大事なのってコミュ力よそれでも私を使う意味それが大事なんだって決める使いやすい役者辺わきまえてるから起用してくれたんだよいつの間にか協調性なんか持つようになっちゃって来週オンエアだから撮影後即編集即納品本読み即撮影だからいい
Oh, skipping the read through.
誰にボロクソ言われようとも大根と言われても私と一緒にいい作品を作ってできると思うのダメな企画に演技のできない役者陣脚本と演出は役者に合わせているのがわかるがそこらで使われていることに気づくヒロインはバリバリの実力派がやりようはありそうだな
Did you see the eye too? It's amazing.
And the smile was like I smile in the opening song.
確保できなかったらしいからドライからランスルーは全部ひとまとめでリハーサル扱い
Jesus.
予算も時間もないのよよーかなちゃん今日雨やばない本気にしてほしかったわギャルとさ髪広がるんだよ
Interesting that he's playing a stalker, eh?
よろしくお願いします名前も聞けてないんだけど
Melt. Okay, here we go.
I don't think so.
はじめまして本日はよろしくお願いしますよろしくね
I don't think so. I'm not feeling it.
冠城雅也戦場の父親で愛の死に関わったかもしれない男に回せるものを回収しないとな今の人が
It's too early.
行くわよ台本は
Ah,
ヒロインにつきまとうストーカーの役
this is too close to home, man.
Oh, and the hood
The
up.
irony of fate is
Oh.
this.
Act through the leak. Come on.
何が裏方志望よこんなの練習ない程度に下手じゃないだけで俺自身に何の魅力も有馬香奈が見た俺の演技は年齢と中身のギャップが引き起こした異質感だ
Interesting.
年齢に肉体が追いついた今となっては求めてたなら悪いなそんなことは嘘になるけど十分来た人の演技って感じがして私は好き親切で丁寧っていうか物語に寄り添ってるっていうか普通の人には分からなくて
He's the actor's actor.
主演級の仕事なんて私にとってはそりゃ頑張るしまだ役者続けてたのかってこうやって実力が評価される時期が来たのよって思っただからね別にあん受けてるって分かっただけで私嬉しかったこの後雑誌の撮影入ってるんだけど有馬さんがなだめてくれてるので使い勝手楽でいいよね雑に据えとくにはちょうどいい一応世間に浸透してるしネームバリュー使える得したよまあ演技にうるさいのだけ面倒だけどなこのドラマはあくまで潜在ってないみたいだけど
Oh, and the shot of him.
He got the cigarette, though.
But blow them away.
Go out with a bang.
No!
No!
No! No!
Okay, that was Oshi No Ko, Season 1, Episode 3. You, right there, the person who commented and asked or wanted us to watch this show, thank you very much. This show, like, I cannot put into words. We're 3 episodes in. I know it's stupid.
I think it's
to
gonna be
say
one of my
this.
favorites.
I love this show so much. I love it so much.
Like, I'm trying to hold myself back in terms of like putting too much pressure on it to be all that I want it to be and all that I feel like it is at the moment. Because I don't want to like get let down that it doesn't meet whatever crazy expectations I'm putting on it now on episode 3 for it to become a favorite of mine. But I am so into it in so many different levels of into it. Just surface level enjoyment, yes. Art style's great. But then there's these deep things, there's these chills that I'm getting. Oh, it's so good.
Mine's like 1,000, like it's the writing is something like really special and like it's something that I really appreciate. We were told, and we could be wrong, so apologies, but this is apparently done by the same person who did Kaguya-sama Love is War, which is also one of my favorite shows or anime that I've ever watched, and it's because of the writing. But this is such a it's kind of hard for me to believe it in a sense because this is such a different direction, even though that I can see similarities in maybe art style, but that's easy to try to compare, but maybe like similarities in some writing, it's just this hits like a personal spot in how much I'm loving it.
There's a similarity to this idea, an overarching theme of this show of lies, that is reminiscent somewhat of Kaguya-sama Love is War and the kind of hiding of one's inner self in belief that it would not actually be loved by other people.
Yeah.
And that it's not good enough. And there is a similarity in terms of lying and shrouding who you really are in order to give the fans what they're asking for and what they want and to be whatever they want you to be. There is a similarity to the depth of a person and how they view themselves and what they change about themselves in order to appeal to the people around them, or what they perceive would be the best way to appeal to the people around them, what they believe those people want. And also protecting yourself. There's an element of protecting yourself from rejection that is a tie in both of them. So I, in a way, in terms of the writing especially, wouldn't be surprised if that is true.
There are tons of people who react to anime and TV shows, and everybody does it like different. And I like going into it with you and I. I feel like you and I always try to just immerse ourselves in the show, and then what you and I really like to do, whether it's on or off camera, is try to like talk about the show and dissect it and what we like and don't like. And when you do that, you, at least in my own life, I try to be very objective about a show a lot of the time, most of the time, and I'll say what I like about it, whatever. But it puts me in a very difficult place when a show like this arises, because it's rare, especially when it's only 3 episodes in. It's rare that me trying to be objective is already been tainted and like tarnished by my subjective love for this show. Like you have to be careful when you're trying to be objective about things, because when you emotionally resonate with something and connect with something, then your objective opinions are going to be like covered in rose-colored glasses, because you are like you're just so immersed by it. Then it makes it difficult to try to separate the objective, like critical, amazing the show can be, and if I'm just obsessed with the show because it's hitting every note that, like, for me personally as a person, that wouldn't hit for everybody else necessarily. I don't know.
Everything you're saying fits so well with what the story is about, though, about the idol industry and about the entertainment industry. This rose-colored glasses that you were saying, this subjective, objective, that subjectively you're so into it and you're loving it so much that you're finding it hard to possibly be objective of it and to be critical of it. And I think that it all fits with kind of that conversation that's happening here about the beauty that's in front of you and then what's the lie underneath.
Yeah.
Like it's so flashy and it's so beautiful and it's so catching your eye and it's so entertaining that sometimes it's hard to push past that. and start to question or start to even, you feel full because it's so flashy and it's so brilliant and so fun. So you feel full and satisfied that none of you wants to dig deeper necessarily. I think it fits with this whole idol industry of you're being given something and you're taking it and you're eating it and you're not wanting any more.
It's like in that sense, like I do want to.
But it's playing with
it.
Is what I'm saying. Is I think what you're saying fits with the conversation that's happening here.
Right. In the intro, there's something that hits so different when I get like captions and subtitles for intros too. There was one line.
The songs. Oh.
Yeah, there was one line of that said all of your captives in reference to like the lies being portrayed. Right. What everybody in this world. And what they're trying to replicate in the real world and mirror in the real world, like the people who like look at idols as this, you know, shiny thing, as this like beautiful, great thing, seem to never be the ones who are in that position. And the ones who are in that position have such a multi-layered way of thinking that they end up with the conclusion of like, you're my captives. I'm lying. I'm orchestrating this entire thing for your amusement and this delusion that you can live in. And it's like in one way of looking at it, it's this like grandiose idea of like who these people are. Cause like in a way that if you think that you're fooling everybody and you think you're lying and doing all these mental gymnastics to make them feel this way. On one hand, that's like you're thinking very highly of yourself and your own ability, and that could be looked as like pompous or overconfident. But on another hand, you're doing exactly what you're saying. Everything that you're saying is true and resonating with the audience. Mm-hmm. Like in her entire, like, everything that she's putting into this. What did Aqua say in regards to going over her phones this episode? In looking through them, he himself realized all of the precautions and extra steps I had set up to protect her hidden secret. Yeah. Even though that everybody else got a certain energy and vibe off of that was all orchestrated and planned by She, in my mind, wanted everybody to see her in a certain light, but had so many things going on in the background that it's so good, man. I don't know.
Who's the true captive, I think, is a good conversation from that line of like you could, in Predator and Prey, if you think, I is the one that's lying and manipulating the audience as her captives in this example, and then the stalker rises up against the predator, you know, the prey acts out on the predator in revenge for being kept in a cage, if you will. But I was acting the way she was to make him happy.
Yeah.
And so it's like, who is the true predator? Who's the true prey? If you're constantly on blast as an idol, you're constantly being ridiculed, looked at every little step you do. You're constantly trying to go through all these mental hoops of like Kana here, for example, in this episode, is thinking a mile a minute of how she needs to change her acting style in this instance in order to give the most watchable experience to the viewer, even though it's denying her own like innate acting ability, that she can't truly shine or be what she wants to be because she's trying to be well liked and well received and have the project be well received and mainly make the audience happy. Yeah. She is denying herself and putting herself in a position where she won't shine purposefully to make the audience happy.
Yep. So interesting. Going into the actual episode and the content of what we got, Kana, I love her.
Oh, I love her so much. I love her so much.
She lives alone with her parents have retired to the countryside, and she's able to sustain herself from her livings that she made as a child actor. Interesting. Love it.
Which I don't, we got that flash that they kind of cut in a way where you weren't sure if it was a part of the shoujo, like, anime adaptation they were doing, or live action, technically, for this show, that you weren't sure if that part of her in her room with all of those cans, the way they edited it went right into the acting, in Sweet Today, I think it was called, and So I thought it was really her.
Yeah.
Especially because it was all the food. And she was like, oh, I just order Uber foods. Like, it's fine. And I just really liked seeing that little, like, inner shot of her with all of these just cans in her room.
She's a cool character. I like that she was, like... I didn't expect her to be the way that she was, like, in her following of Aqua. And her, like... She... It seems like a lot of these people in this industry have insane amounts of introspection. At least the successful ones, right? Or the ones that they're showing us that I personally admire. Like... Kana's introspection is nuts, man. She, like, is able at her age to understand what worked and didn't work when she was a child, what led her to not get as many jobs, and leads her to focus on that aspect of communication in her own acting ability to try to, you know,
because communication is kind of what she learned from Aqua in that
cooperate,
moment.
Right?
Well, I was going to say communication was because he understood the unwritten communication for that acting role, what the director didn't write.
Yeah.
He understood what the director wanted, and she has kind of taken that and adapted that and uses it herself now. I wouldn't be surprised if she actually doesn't have tons in savings or doesn't have access to that child actor money, because we do know that a lot of child actors don't necessarily have access to the money they made as children.
But at least in America, I don't really know what the industry is like in
there.
Japan.
But I have a feeling, because one of the overarching themes is lies. In order to come off and have people perceive you in a certain way, especially if she's an actor and she's in a home of a director next to another actor, she's not going to be like, oh yeah, I have no money from my child acting days, and so I eat like canned food and I don't actually like have money.
Yeah. Like going with that conversation with the director and Aqua, though, it leads into that interesting point of the name being brought up of Kaburagi, and then this whole like sequence of Aqua trying to figure out and investigate all of her previous phones to try to find the link back to his dad. The scene, like the idea and the monologue behind how many attempts and how long and the 30-second intervals of being locked out, that hit so heavy for me, man.
Over 45,000, right?
So the actual, it's great because like, okay, if you're actually, like, it's so stupid to, like, put yourself in this perspective, but I love the show so much. It's like, oh, man, what would I do if I was in that situation? Well, the most logical step would be just go from zero and just keep trying every single number in the world. And that's what he did, because on his 45,510th attempt, he got the right passcode that was 45,510. And, like, why? I'm like already like, okay, I'm writing that number down and keeping it fresh in my notebook, because a lot of times passwords and dates mean a lot to people. Why did I pick this number? 45510. You know, like I'm already like, God, I hope that
means
comes
something
around some
I mean,
way.
normally passcodes mean something to you. A birthday.
If they're bad
numbers.
passcodes, they mean something to you, right? That's the rule of thumb. If it's your birthday, bad passcode, but
well,
it
she
means
was
something.
very good at being secretive and in order to protect this giant secret of her having kids.
But this was her first phone.
But this was her first phone from before she was pregnant. So I think it is safe to say it probably meant something to her.
Also, and it again, I'm just like gushing over the show, so I'm gonna like pay extra attention and compliment everything. The fact that there's like a no SIM card icon in her old phone is so unnecessary, but it makes me love the show so much more. You know what I mean? Of course there wouldn't be a SIM card on it, but it's just like I just feel like this is one of those shows that it feels like so much love went into the production side of things, you know?
There's extra little details. Like, one of the things that I love the most from like a visual extra detail is the strands of hair.
Yeah, oh my God.
Especially when there's like interesting lighting happening, like when we're in this dark shed on a rainy day, but there's some light coming in through the clouds, and we're getting like little highlighted strands of Kana's hair as she's moving. It brings me back to one of the most horrific examples was Ai's death, and how her hair kind of changed and almost looked like a loss of life even in the hair itself upon her death. That's like a visual detail that I'm really enjoying, is kind of the movement
the strands
of hair
and everything. Yeah, when it goes into that like ultra detailed lighting look. That leads us into the acting scene, you know, and what, again, like, I think this is my favorite moment of the entire episode. It's around timestamp 20 minutes and 5 seconds. And it's when Aqua's talking about his own perception of, like, acting when Kana brings up, like, oh, what are you talking about? Like, you're doing just fine, you know? Because it makes you think. I think before this episode, and sometimes I want to get into the mindset of, oh, you're just putting yourself down, man. But I think it's more intricate than that. And I applaud it for being more intricate than that. Because, like, so the dialogue here, I'm not so lousy that I hinder others, but I don't exhibit any charm either. And then he goes on to talk about the acting that Kana witnessed that day and how it only felt so alien due to it only felt so alien due to the disparity between my physical age and inner mind. And, like, I think that's a really intelligent and, like, a great way to write that, because that has so much truth in it, right? And that aspect of himself that he naturally portrayed was what gave the director the idea to put him in the movie to do exactly what scared the director himself, right?
Yeah,
he was precarious. But it leads him into his current thought that now that his body's caught up to his mental age, he's just a dime a dozen actor. And I think it's so interesting because on one hand, he can be completely right. Correct? He can be completely hit on the nose that he is just a one in a dozen actor, nothing special about him. But him announcing that and saying that out loud and having that introspection and realization could be a self-fulfilling prophecy where he's already putting himself into that position, you know? Like,
which we talked about last episode, that he was already kind of extinguishing his flame before it even...
Yeah, it's interesting, though, because it's like, okay, you might be right, and you probably are right, but the people who are what you're talking about that you aren't are never going to get to that place by having that realistic view of themselves, right? It's going to have that overconfidence. It's going to have that I can do anything type of mentality. And him saying this out loud about himself is subconsciously putting himself exactly there. He's not letting himself go any farther than that.
Right. Oh gosh, this is so good. He said in this episode, when it was brought up, you know, to the family was talking about this new acting job that he had. And he was like, I don't have such lofty ambitions like, to be an actor. And I wrote down lofty ambitions. What would he call his current ambitions? Like his goal of revenge? If being an actor and possibly enjoying his life or being admitting that he might be talented or trying his best for himself, if that's lofty, then what he's currently doing? Like what adjective would he add to his ambitions now?
It full of meaning. Like there's actual like tangible meaning and importance in what he's doing now, and he does not see the benefit to the greater society or himself for doing something like acting. Like I think that in terms of like real importance in his mind, that like nothing else is going to be a certainty of importance and dedication like what he's after right now.
I like the word certainty. I'm a little bit different, I guess, in how I'm thinking about it. Like I see lofty as another example of him just pushing himself down before he can actually reach it. And if we're just talking about a character that isn't thinking about himself at all, then obviously he's going to use such terms to describe anything that would be good for himself. Things that put distance between him, like getting something for himself. He's going to use words like lofty, which pushes distance between him and that kind of ambition, that idea, that path. And so I think that him choosing the path of revenge and the ambition of revenge is easily accessible to him, because it's almost like he doesn't have to go out of his comfort zone and he doesn't have to think about himself. He can focus on thinking about someone else and other people, which is something that he is probably accustomed to from his previous life and from kind of what led to his death, and how he started to think before his death. So I feel like the lofty ambition, the being the actor, is probably something that he actually wants to do. And the revenge is something that he just feels like he has to do and that he's not important. And I think to say that the revenge aspect or that ambition is more important is not necessarily something that I would say.
Yeah.
Something that should be prioritized.
I don't think it should be. I think it is, though, like, in his mind. Like, I don't think he's ever even had the thought of if acting is happy for him or if it's, like, something that would make him happy.
Do you think subconsciously, though? I mean, he uses the word lofty, and so to me, and then we get these kind of micro expressions animated on his face every time he puts himself down or someone else brings up acting to him, like Kana at the dinner table with the director, that show almost this this divisiveness inside of him, this kind of pull inside of him where it's almost like he's fighting internally against something that he maybe kind of wants to do.
Well, subconsciously, I think is a key word there, because consciously, every aspect of what he is doing is aiding him and is being used as a tool for his actual goal, which is revenge, right? And like, I don't think that there's ever been a conscious thought of like of an enjoyment of acting past eyes. Maybe you'll be an actor one day.
I saying that,
yeah,
which is interesting because that's also something that someone else wanted for him.
Yeah, and like I think that like how analytical he is about it too is so interesting, because I think that in terms of like the general population liking your acting, if you're over analytical with your style, you're probably not going to appeal to the most amount of people. Therefore, you wouldn't be the best actor, right? But to fellow actors who understand the scene and what goes into a scene, like Kana, she's able to recognize his micro expressions, the little choices that he makes to try to be immersed and sell the story for what it is, rather than like just, I don't know, do what's on the script and, you know.
Which I like you bringing that up, because then it brings up something else that happens here. Right before the cigarette scene, we have the director talking about why using Kana is good, because she's able to kind of be a bridge, you know, connecting all the other actors that aren't very talented in order to kind of lift them up a little bit by sacrificing her own kind of stardom and ability. And it's exactly what she compliments Aqua for, that he has that ability to just almost be pleasant to work with, be pleasant on the camera, to not do anything crazy. And so she's complimenting him where he's like, oh, I didn't do like an amazing job. I did like a normal actor job. And she's complimenting him. And it's almost like, once we get that shot and that conversation later, it feels kind of upsetting because she's complimenting him for something almost as if she's trying to tell herself this. And then we get from the director that it's almost like they're taking advantage of her because of this.
Yeah, because she was so happy that she was finally being recognized for her innate acting ability, as well as her ability to bring everybody together. But that whole thing is being used, and her emotions therefore are being used.
Yeah, like it's not being respected. Like,
they're getting a deal.
It's really awesome that she is using her talent as the female lead to create a watchable product and to respect the crew and the writer of the manga, and you know, and so she has such like a beautiful and innocent and sweet reason for doing this, and she feels so proud of herself. And to know that all of that, like her inner working on herself and trying to be a good person, a good actor, a good crew member, that's all, you know, not being respected. And it's like, yeah, cool, thank you for giving us that for like cheap.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Last thing I want to say is shout out to all of the writers who have ever gotten the exciting news that their material is going to be used as source for a show, only to realize that it's going to fucking fall short because of production. There was a great line that Kana had just talking about when the author of the source manga visited the set for the filming of episode 1. her look of disappointment was hard to bear. Like that, you gotta, like, even though everybody's giving it their all, just knowing what it actually is such a heartbreaking realization about the industry of, like, in our lives, you know?
You're as the writer, your work of, or your child almost, your heart that you put hours and hours and hours into is only being used to sell models' careers.
Yeah.
Not even like young actors' careers, young models' careers. Like people that are just trying to get famous and not necessarily like want to be the best actor someday.
Yeah.
And to know that you're just being used to sell things and something that you loved and you created is just being used, it's almost taken advantage of, which is similar to what's happening with Kana, is this thing that she loves, which is acting, is being taken advantage of in order to sell these models.
Yeah. You know what I'm really happy about, that Aqua, like, throughout his mission and his importance of his mission, he is realizing and connecting himself to, like, real tangible feelings that he's seeing from other people, right? We saw him have a sort of reaction to, like, we would not, if he didn't have feelings or a reaction to what was going on behind the scenes and what was being said about Kana, we wouldn't have seen him, you know, eavesdropping there. Mm-hmm. Obviously that was meant to show us he has his own opinions and feelings about this. And I think that might lead him into being a better actor and trying more in certain instances.
We're seeing almost this very realistic push and pull of someone growing up and realizing who they want to be and how they want to live their lives, which is so interesting when we're seeing it as a person that is reborn. Yeah. Who has already lived a life, but we're seeing this person, Aqua, this new life, kind of figuring himself out in like his ambitions and his goals. And so when the cigarette scene, I think, was almost very pivotal in terms of like a trajectory of what's going to be happening for the rest of the show, maybe, which is that kind of push and pull of what he thinks should be his goal and his priorities and keeping them straight. Yeah. And what does he want to do for himself? Because we got that but. Mm-hmm.
I love this show.
I do too. I love this show. I don't want to wait. I know I have to. That's how it works when it comes out weekly.
This is one of them that once we have finished it for however long it's going to take, or I'll just do it and never read it, I will buy the entire manga series. I will save up and buy the entire manga series and like display it on my shelf. If there is a manga series, I don't know. I love this so much so far. And we're only 3 episodes in. What a joy.
What a joy. That's the sentiment I'm going to leave on to. What a joy.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we hope to see you next time.